Okay. People hear me okay? I'm looking for my folks on the screens.
Yep.
Give me a quick moment while Alex gets us all live, and we'll get ourselves going today.
Talk, please, just so we can hear how it sounds in this room.
Hi, everyone.
Adam,
Thank you.
feels very springy today, if I can just say. Like the scarf. Good scarf, Brooke. I'm a fan.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
You too.
Let me know.
Yeah,
We're good. Okay, we're good. So let's call this this to order. And I can't see on my computer, so I don't know the time. 7:05. Sorry for the delay. We're getting used to the delay, unfortunately, as we kind of continually set and reset our technology. Can we do a roll call? Get ourselves going here.
Yeah. Councilmember Deb Cassini-Klein. Here. Councilmember Valerie Renthaler.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Cassinia.
Here.
Councilmember Brooke Burchett Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Adam McDowell.
Here.
Councilmember Diane Law.
Here.
And Mayor Paul Gamrat.
Here.
And of course, President Jay Dorn.
I am still here for the good and the bad of it all. Having said that, we're going to move into public comment. Before we jump into public comment, I do want to say that this month will be, it looks like, our last kind of completely Zoom. We're looking at May to return to some level of in-person. There will be some limitation on the numbers that can come, so we're trying to sort that logistic out. I will say, amongst discussion of council, whatever that limitation is, it will be in a either kind of first come, first serve, or some other neutral fashion in order to ensure everyone has an equal opportunity if they choose to be in person. But there will be some limitation for certain based off room capacity status of the virus.
And we will continue with a hybrid fashion. So those who aren't able to be in the room will be able to participate as they are this evening.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And for that, we also have 24 people in attendance that we don't see, and the 14 that are panelists that we do see.
All righty. Sounds outstanding. Having said that, we will move into public comment. For the purposes of public comment, if you raise your hand down there at the bottom of your screen, normally there's a raise hand. We will promote you at that time and you'll have the opportunity to speak. First on the agenda that I see is April. So if we can get April, I see her phone is promoted. If you're unmuted, you are free to speak for 3 minutes. Please state your name and address, please.
Hi, Eric. Jay, it's Eric Klein, April Klein, 18 Holland Road. I want to thank Council for allowing the Churchill Garden Club to meet in the Yagle Room in March. That was greatly appreciated. And I want to thank Alex for reaching out to me to help review him and the mayor and Ralph for coming up with a procedure for the Yagle Room moving forward. That's a good thing. I do think council needs to look back at the original bequest of Mr. Yagle. He donated money in his will for a community center free of charge to the Stamp Club, the Women's Club, which is now no longer in existence, and the Garden Club. And I'm looking forward to working with those entities to come up with a logical and fair system for that room. So thank you very much.
Thank you, April. I appreciate your comments. Moving forward, next up, who do we got next, Alex? There was another hand up. Is it promoted or not? I thought I saw a second, but I guess it must have gone down. I'll give it an extra second there. There it is. It was David Owens. So we'll promote you, David. If you can state your name, address, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Can you promote Mr. Owens, Alex? Thank you. All right, David, you have 3 minutes if you'd like to unmute yourself, state your name, your address, and we can move forward.
Good evening.
There you are.
My name is
evening.
David Owens, and I live at 101 Fenwick Drive, Churchill, Pennsylvania. I want to open my comments this evening by expressing appreciation to the Churchill Borough Council for your investment of time and energy over the past 2 years to consider the requests by the property owners of the former Westinghouse Research property and the Hillwood development proposal to develop the mega Amazon warehouse and distribution center. Much was learned during this process about the fabric of our community and the importance and significance that this property has to offer to this community and the region. The Westinghouse property comprises nearly 9% of Churchill Borough. Decisions were made and the council approved the conditional use permit application for developing a warehouse distribution center. Amazon's unexpected decision to suspend the Churchill project came as a surprise to many, as the preliminary site preparation activities were in full swing. Such a reversal of Amazon's position offers our community an opportunity to pause and reflect upon what was learned from all of the public hearings, impact studies, developers' plans, and the objectors' information about the strengths, weaknesses, and the environmental constraints that were revealed about this property. Both my wife and I spoke before the council as public commenters, speaking against the creation of this massive complex within our residential community. I echoed the theme put forth by Hillwood that anything is possible. I believe it is possible to identify opportunities to attract organizations and corporations that can create facilities that are of the scope and scale that fit comfortably within the fabric of our community. We, as well as the other members of the Churchill Futures Group, are pro-development and committed to the redevelopment of the former Westinghouse property in a manner that strengthens rather than degrades our community. At this point, what are the next steps that the Borough Council plans to take to work in partnership with the property owners and the developer to seek out those opportunities? Most importantly, how can I and many of our neighbors play an active role within the borough to offer our time and talents to strengthen this partnership? I would be delighted to serve on committees, task force, planning committees to assist our borough in making these very important decisions as we move towards the future. I certainly will send a copy of my written comments to Alex, and I would very much appreciate the council's posting of opportunities to be involved. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your comment. We do appreciate it. Any other public comment? All right, I've got Kate Kerrigan Hill up next, I believe. After Kate will be Cynthia Underwood.
Hi, this is Kate Kerrigan Hill. I live at 1441 Beulah Road, and it looks like I have a ceiling fan coming out of my head. I'm asking about something that was apparently done before, and I wasn't aware of it. This is before I started getting involved with meetings regarding council and then Amazon. There was something that was called a visioning exercise, and from what I understand, it was Churchill residents who were asked specifically what it is they saw as their dreams or desires or needs, wishes, whatever the proper term is for Churchill. And I agree with what Mr. Owens said, which is we're all about development of the site. I believe it should be beneficial to all the residents, and that if if it meets the needs of the owners, the residents, the school board, council, I think we could come to some sort of mutual agreement and mutual benefit to all of us based on including residents and what's possible for that site. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I believe up next was, you just moved on me. There you are, Ms. Underwood. Floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for listening to my comments. I live at 824 Grand Boulevard, and I just want to echo what the two residents before me said. We spoke earlier about our concerns, but I too would like to participate in any committees or development ideas. I worked in the field of audit and investigation for 30 years, and now I work with small businesses. And I would love to have an opportunity to help develop that site and bring some other mixed uses to that area. We appreciate the council and all your efforts in this situation, but we as residents have been awakened to this whole process, and I think we've come together nicely as a group, but we would love to see something more positive go in that area. Thank you.
Again, thank you for your comment. I'm looking to see if there's any other public comment at this time. I see Mr. Bilby. Bilby, you've been promoted. The floor will be yours whenever you're able.
Oops. Yes, Murray Bilby, 2424 Churchill Road. I would like some clarification, perhaps Gavin can do so. My understanding is that Hillwood has permission to build a distribution center, not necessarily tied to Amazon or anyone else. And consequently, since they intend to, from what I have heard, to pursue the development, whether or not Amazon becomes their final client, they are permitted to continue either as a distribution center, or if they come up with an alternative proposal, does that require them to submit new programs, or can they simply amend their current C1 variant, from my terminology anyway, C1 variants in order to build something else? Can we get some clarification on that?
Is that the end of your comment?
Yes,
Okay,
I don't
cool.
know what their options are, and this is what I would like to, some
Sure.
people have asked me and I don't know, and then I'm just asking you to clarify.
Understood. And as that is ongoing kind of litigation, I will defer to counsel on what can be spoken to.
Yeah, I would just say that the answer is probably it depends. We can't say without seeing what potential different plan and what those differences might be and whether the material or not, or whether or not there would be an ability to fit another non-Amazon tenant into this development. Until that's in front of us, that's not something I could, it's just a hypothetical. I wouldn't know. I guess it's theoretically possible legally, but until we actually see a different tenant with a different set of operations, traffic, et cetera, if they would be different, we just have to judge that based on what's submitted. So we're just not in a position to go down that path at this point. We've been told, as Mr. Bilby said, and has been made, I think, public. I think most folks are aware that, the applicant has told us they're planning to move forward, and they believe that Amazon's going to be the tenant. So that's the world we're living in now. And if that changes, we'll adapt and be able to, address that at the time.
So thank you. Appreciate that. All right, looking at any other comments? Not seeing any. All right, I'm going to close public comment then, and we're going to move forward on to discussion items. First discussion item up, any questions on minutes or mayors or any of that alike?
I don't know.
I will assume by our silence that there's not much there. Gonna kind of cruise through some of this. Anything on, and I'm gonna merge, unless there's objection by members of council, kind of the 4, 5, 6 into kind of the committee reports and just kind of a general discussion, if that's okay with folks, so we can kind of roll right through them. So on the management and government, one thing I will add to this. So we're meeting on Thursday. There's been a bunch of kind of little meetings and requests that have been made to folks. So we've reached out to the school board to have them meet with us. Jay Costa reached out the other day to me in terms of trying to meet up with Rich Fitzgerald. So that would be for us as soon as we get some kind of appointment time with them. So that will go into kind of a post Thursday report that I'll put out for folks formally. Outside of that, I don't know if there's anything else kind of to add other than in our spatials. So infrastructure, anything to add that we don't see?
No, I don't think anything, just we see that there's information on the paving bids. We had 3 qualified contractors come in, so we'll discuss that further. And I believe the engineers reviewing those, to be ready to make a recommendation for moving forward with the paving program. One thing I will mention, and it got put under management and government, but I think I had asked Alex about adding about this radar, local use radar. So if we can discuss that a little bit, or I don't know if anyone has questions on that. We're discussing it from the infrastructure because we've been doing some study on, trouble intersections, and then had some traffic data about speeding and other stuff. So that's kind of how that got added in there, in case anyone's wondering.
I was wondering. That's why I moved past it.
And I guess I'll add some additional information there, Jay, is, right now, the boroughs are not allowed to use radar for their policing, to write speeding tickets or anything. I think VASCAR is the old system, and they've actually gone out of business, the company that supports that. So if you have working systems, you can use them. But otherwise, basically, our police are handcuffed to using a stopwatch and painting lines on the road. For some reason, it's some archaic kind of rule in Pennsylvania that boroughs just aren't allowed to use radar for the police department.
Lack of respect of boroughs in Harrisburg, just to be clear.
So, I think just in the infrastructure committee, we were just discussing that, if council's in favor, if the borough's okay with it, we'd like to at least send a letter in support of, these bills in the state legislature to say, yes, we support this. I don't know that it'll go anywhere. Certainly we'd like to hope that it would and voice our support. And if we have any influence that we can help with that, certainly we should, but that's kind of the general background on that. Alex, do you have anything to add? Or?
When we had PennDOT look at the speed coming down Churchill Road from the Parkway, about 95% of the vehicles were driving fast enough to be ticketed for a moving violation for speeding. So that's a concern. And it's just been, for those of you who've been around this game for a long time, it's been proposed a lot. And for those who are concerned about making money, the latest bill, I think, limits us to $12 per ticket. So if you know what an hourly rate for a police officer is, $12 per ticket's not going to fatten the borough's coffers.
So what I would say is a great point, right? So in terms of letting us know, if you can send that, I mean, I know it now, so it's not a big deal, but if you can send it to the GRC so that when we're talking to Jay, because that's the best avenue is not, I mean, yes, send a letter and send it, that's fine. But our best avenue of moving legislation is with our legislators, right? And we're fortunate to have somebody who both listens to us, quite frankly, that cares about what's going on in our community, and happens to sit at, as the senior of the party. So, in that sense, we're in a much better space to sit down and have a conversation with him about it and say, what's the best way to start to move legislation? How can we get co-sponsors for this? Because that's the bigger thing, right? But yeah, I think it's great, and I think that's something we can certainly take up in committee and move forward.
Great.
So cool, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think it's important to realize too that we belong as a borough to a number of organizations, not the least of which is the Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs. I've been disappointed at the absence of what I can see as tangible impact. So that's a whole other avenue that we're involved in pursuing. So.
Excellent. I defer to Diane on the best lobbying techniques based on experience. But not, I still defer. We all have skill sets that we go to. Okay, moving. Anything else out of infrastructure?
I do have one quick comment, if you don't mind. I would like to thank the Infrastructure Committee and also Council for adopting the paving program and also electing Elm Hill Road as well as Marbury Road as the first of the project for this year. What I would like to ask is, has anyone pursued looking at the condition of the underground pipes, utility pipes, that are managed by People's Gas or the water company to ensure that once we pave the roads that we're not going to be required to then tear up the roads?
If I can comment, that's a great question, Brooke. And let me make sure I stop sharing screen. This is Alex. That's like the Holy Grail, right?
Yep.
If we could all coordinate all of our various infrastructure. So what we're doing, Dennis can chime in as well. We camera our utilities, we notify other utilities what we're doing. Like us, sometimes things break and their lines break and they can control what is even in a plan or in a project that's scheduled to happen. So that's something to keep in mind. The reason we're this year committed to doing a long range pavement program is really be serious as much as possible at coordinating utilities with the other utilities. But we're small fish in the system of a very large ocean of Allegheny County and the other utilities. But Dennis, I don't know if you want to speak to that. We try to let them know what we're doing. We do camera our own things. And if we have to fix them, obviously address that, which adds to the cost. But Dennis, you want to mention something about maybe we can improve on that? This is the Holy Grail, right? Trying to find a way to be on the same page with our various underground partners.
Hey, I think you spoke to that well, Alex. Mainly it is making sure that we're aware of our infrastructure and that we are not coming back later and repairing our infrastructure to the best of our ability. So we do camera all of that. We do try to notify the municipality or the other utility companies, but that is expected to change with the new multi-year paving management program that we're looking to create. And with that, then we can really build that out, since typically providing them with what we plan to do this year may be too late to fit within their schedule, since most of the time they will already have that set from the previous year. But we'll continue to use Connect and some of the other programs in order to make sure that we're coordinating with those utility companies.
Thank you.
Anything on, we've got finance, public safety in the next page. Questions, comments?
I could speak really briefly to finance. Let's see. So we are getting those tax collector monthly reports now. So if everyone would just take a look at the binder and be sure that you're reviewing those. If you have any questions or any formatting issues or concerns, just let us know, because we can address those now that they're actually being submitted. And we also wanted to revisit the Pliget account, and that is exploring the option of opening a reserve account, and that's the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust.
Outstanding. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Anything else?
Public safety.
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. The mayor and I had a meeting with Pace School last week to discuss some of the safety issues there, along with our police chief and the CEO and the principal of the school. Not that there are a tremendous amount of safety issues, but in the past there have been some children who have what they say eloped. That's their terminology for escaping. And as you know, there have been some issues with not only that, but even some brutality with the children, with our police force. So it was the first time that our police chief has actually sat down with them. So I think that was a good communication and safety thing, that at least we're coming together. I mean, there's no immediate solution, but at the same time, it's a good starting point that we're at least talking about it and trying to see options that we may have and they may have, just to make it safer for the kids.
So just a point of clarification for me on the conversation. How often is it that somebody, and by the way, this gets me very jaded, Pinkett entanglement space. Like how often is it that we have somebody that we have a kid that's eloping?
I don't think it's very often.
It's not that often, but it's often enough that it's scary. I mean, there was a child who ended up on Greensburg Pike and I think laid down on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
There were a few that eloped and went behind someone's house and I think was climbing up the chimney. And, you know, that's also a scary situation because you think of children, but some of these children are big, strong men. They look like big, strong men, and they're trespassing on property, which could be a very serious situation.
I mean, my primary concern, obviously, was their safety.
Yes.
And kind of just thinking through this process of a kid running onto Greensburg, right? And God forbid,
Right.
laying down the street, getting run over.
Right.
You know, are the measures, is it your sense that the measures that are in place are adequate to ensure that doesn't happen? Because I think what this brings into question for me is the bigger conversation that we've had about potential ordinances and uses and that kind of thing, where there's a risk factor here that if this has happened, let's say once a quarter, right? So that's 4 times. Well, that's not only is that 4 kids whose lives can be placed in danger in Churchill, but that's 4 times that we're engaged in some kind of dangerous behavior because of sight. So I would just say that as we look at that conversation about, and I don't like the term nuisance because that's not it. It's the safety precautionary ordinance to ensure safety of everyone who's in Churchill. Right. And if we've got a place, whether it's space or if we had, so the conversation, if it was the country club and we had every quarter somebody on the country club who got drunk and laid down in the street.
Exactly.
Right. We would be at the country club saying, you need to fix this today. We cannot have people laying down in the street. So I would just point out to everybody, we really need to think hard, not simply about what they're doing right now, but about what they're. My mic just died on me. Switch mics. There we go. I have no batteries to that. No extra batteries to that mic. That's my fault. I should have known it in the beginning. It's my bad. But I was saying is that if somebody, at the country club, I'll repeat it just in case someone didn't hear it, had laid down on the street once a quarter, or ran into the street once a quarter and was almost hit, it would create a risk that we would probably look more seriously at an ordinance to protect our residents. And I think if you look at this and some of the other situations, it is something we need to take very seriously, in that they need to understand. I think the school district needs to understand. I think, quite frankly, whatever development were to come into the Westinghouse property needs to understand that that's the direction that we're going to go. So that's my soapbox. I'm jumping off.
To add a little bit more to that, we did discuss with them options that they have. What can they do to not so much prevent? They can't lock the doors from the inside, but the discussion led to on the panic bar, could be a 5-second delay where when they hit the bar, it doesn't open automatically. It's a 5-second thing, gives staff enough time to grab them. The other thing was they could add more trees to that line up front that would, slow down any students from getting to the street. And the third thing was to build a fence.
Yeah, I would just point out, if they're not doing something, we certainly have to do something to incentivize it for them.
I know, and they were very open to all those,
No, they were
you know,
very
they, you know, they
And they
thanked us
do-
for,
I'm also on the board of Pay School, so I know what, I've been on the board for 8 or 9 years. They do such a terrific job. And I understand we were talking about like the comparison with the Edgewood Country Club, but the difference is those are drunk people who they'll be kicked out of Edgewood Country Club. These are special needs kids.
I understand that.
And you know that, yeah, that necessarily you can't just kick them out because, and there's one girl in particular who beat up one of our police officers, damaged the car. I mean, you know the whole bit. So again, this does not happen. I wouldn't say it happens every quarter,
Right.
but it happens. One is too many.
Yeah, and for clarity, my concern in this rests in the children.
Yes.
Right. My concern is not, like you're saying, you know, I'm not worried that it's a big kid that looks big and he's climbing up into somebody. I'm worried that it's a kid that gets hit by a car.
Sure.
Or a kid that gets, you know, God forbid, you know, shot, you know, or
Oh, of
some other
course.
horrific action.
Or a car swerves to avoid the kid, hits
And they hit
another
right,
car,
so-
and now we've created an accident.
So if we're not taking some kind of action to help address that in the absence of other action, I'm worried. And I don't think it's just pace, by the way.
No.
I think we have a bigger conversation to have, but I think it's one that we need to have.
Right. And it is an ongoing discussion with us, with them. So this was our preliminary meeting.
Yeah, I would just add the comment, I think everyone's spot on with their comments and discussion. You know, I understand where you're coming from, Jay, certainly. And I guess, you know, I look forward, I'm glad to see that we're being proactive on that and that, you know, you guys are taking the reins of that, setting up those meetings. So I'll be interested in learning more about the data, how often this is happening, and then, you know, if there's steps that can be taken by them partnering with Chief Ron and everybody and working together, what that's going to look like. And if there's still issues, then like Jay said, you know, we'll have to follow up from there. So I'm interested to hear more, and I appreciate your guys' hard work.
and to add just a little bit more onto that, I met with Dr. Castagna, the new superintendent, last week. Him and I had lunch together. And he's real interested in having some more meetings or a meeting with the chief and possibly, I talked to Diane, Mr. Portagallo coming in on that, and whoever we can else get in there, because, you know, the ongoing issues that we're having with the school district and being aware of what's going on there.
Yeah, in kind of to that point, since you've kind of brought that to the table, you know, I'm remiss if I don't bring it out, right? If we're not discussing it. And so, you know, the problem that we have here is not one of accidental lack of communication. And I have communicated this to the school district. It's part of why we've asked them, each of our representatives, to come meet with the Government Relations Committee and explain kind of where they are and how they're repping us as Churchill. But listen, they have put in armed officers without notifying us, right? Which means that our police officers are going into a space that they don't recognize a person with a gun, right? They have asked for essentially, I'm going to get the acronym wrong, Alex, OIR, ROI, thank you, which effectively gives them their own kind of ability for arresting power, right? That they can pull. They have now, if I understand it, have multiple SROs,
yes,
right? None of this, even after we spoke with them, has been communicated with us. And so I am personally, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for committee or council, but I am at a point that if you are saying to us, we're not going to talk to you, you don't get to come now and act like you want to talk to us. You've taken all the steps you want to take. To me, I'm in a space of like, so now where are we at with them? Right? Where are we at with a district that isn't educating our kids, isn't notifying us of their safety problems, isn't notifying us of the steps that they're taking in terms of how they're securing their building, but expecting us to come in there when they want, right? They still want us to do the paperwork, if I'm understanding this, right? They want to do everything on their end and then hand us the paperwork to do, right? I'm at my wit's end, and I'm sorry to kind of put it out there in this fashion, but I'm like, what's our conversation look like with them? What should it look like with them to say, you are not serving the residents of Churchill? So that's one more soapbox that I'm jumping off of. So there's nothing else on that one. And,
Have several hours on that one, but I will restrain myself at the moment and we'll meet with the school board members that have agreed. Only 2 of the 3, by the way, have agreed to meet with us. That is from our region. But we'll certainly report back after those conversations.
and for clarity, we've actually only heard from one,
Oh, right.
to be clear. Yeah, one was telling us what the other can do. I generally, would like to hear from people directly. So just as a point. So else. So I sour the mood regularly. This is what happens. This is what happens when Tottenham had a great game. I know how you all think I always just rip on Gavin. They had a wonderful game and Arsenal stunk it up. So now I'm just a bitter old man. So anything else?
Communication committee, we just met last week. I'm going to give a plug to Savvy Citizen. If you do not have the app, please go ahead, grab your phone right now and download it. We have started to use that and there'll be notifications that will be going out on there. So that's exciting. We are working still internally on the website. It's looking really, really great. So we're hoping to launch that soon-ish. So yeah, download the app and get information.
Question, Val.
Yes.
So now if we have Swift Reach, we'll get both?
For right now, you will be getting both. I think the Swift Reach just went out saying that it's going to be ending. I don't know exactly when Swift Reach will be ending. Alex, do you know that information?
Agreement with UP is June 30th. So we're going to be doing several notices through that. Since I've been here, we went to, I think, 435 Swift Reach users. We're up to 639 Savvy Citizen users. Added about another 140 in the last week or so. So you did it. So you asked for it. So I guess I'll have to oblige. So I'm going to share screen. And so what Valerie was saying, you can do right now, and you can share this with all your friends. You just basically Google savvycitizen.com. And you can see there's a couple ways that you can do this. There on the right-hand side, it says citizens. You can use Google Play App Store, sign up now, and you can tell it what kind of notices and push notifications you want to receive and how that works. And if you don't like it, you can dial it back because we try to do a lot. We want to do a lot, like including weather alerts. Maybe you already get weather alerts, so you want to kind of dial back ours on that. You might be able to do that within your settings in Google, Android, and in the iPhone. So yeah, just please do that. And then show your neighbors how it works, because I think that's how it's going to work. We plan to, like on Friday, if you were noticing, when I posted the agenda, I sent a thing out on Savvy Citizen so people could follow the agenda at home as early as Friday and have it for this evening's meeting.
To make a note of that, you do not have to have a smartphone
Correct.
to be part of Savvy Citizen. You can have it notices sent directly to your email or even a text message. So you do not need to have a smartphone.
Correct. That's good to know.
So my last comment on Savvy Citizen, first of all, great question, Matt, if I can just point that out. But also, I signed up and it's a market improvement, right? Just generally in communication for us. So for both the citizens who have been clamoring for it for some time, who come to our meetings regularly, and to our committee who put the work, and I thank you for good work. So anything else on the table for folks?
I have a couple announcements.
Yeah, absolutely.
One, we want to remind the residents that the Bunny Parade is up and alive. Where's my battery low? We'll be coming out April 16th on Saturday, beginning at 10:30, I believe. The schedule is on the website, on our website, and on the Savvy Citizen.
Yeah, also push these.
So that's out there. So just listen for the sirens coming around, and you'll hear us coming. Deb will be our bunny again this year, and I will again enjoy hosting that.
Candy for the kids.
Candy for the kids. So be out there as usual. And the other announcement was, we met with one of the residents this afternoon about volunteering with skills that residents have throughout the neighborhood. And she has agreed to work with, on a little project in the borough that, she has agreed to sit down and work with that. And I talked to Alex the other day, if you had something in the office that someone could do, and he's had plenty of things for residents who have like a couple hours a week and want to get involved with some things in the office, help us out. Someone was scanning documents and putting them into files and kind of some clerical things that would be indoors, comfortable. We have air conditioning, nice heating. So if you want to volunteer for something like that, you can let Alex know.
Outstanding. Anything additional? All right. Before we adjourn, I'll just make an announcement that we are going to head into a quick executive session. I don't know. Is there an announcement to make? Yeah. I was going to say we are probably next week, but I don't have full clarification yet. So, but we are moving forward in the space of the Human Relations Commission. Thank you, Brooke, for your work on that. If I can say that now, I appreciate it. I don't know if there's any comment that you wanted to make to it, Brooke.
Well, I'll just say that the Human Relations Commission was adopted back in 2018. We did have about 12 stakeholders that were interested in participating in the commission. We've narrowed that list down to 7. We are in the process of deciding on a date among the committee where we're available to begin interviewing those 7 candidates. Following the interview, we'll then, convene back together, decide who we would like to bring before council to vote on as far as appointing those members to serve, or those residents to serve on the commission. So we are moving along, and I just thank all of the stakeholders who have, shown interest in serving, and we will be reaching out to you, if not this week, then definitely next week.
Thanks, Brooke. I appreciate it. Outside of that, we will be heading into an executive session over a legal matter. And with that being said, I would entertain some adjournment.
One more.
Yep, one more.
One
sorry.
more. I'm sorry. The mayor and I have a meeting with the rec board, first time since before COVID, on Thursday. And we are always looking for more rec board members. So if there's anyone out there, we plan events. We haven't had any events in a couple of years due to COVID, and we won't be doing a community day like we did a couple of years ago, just because that takes almost 9 months to a year in planning. And at the time, we would have had to start planning that in October. Omicron was blah, blah, blah,
Understood.
so, but we may do something at a smaller scale. This is a lot for discussion and on Thursday. But if there's anybody out there who might be interested in joining, it's a great way to volunteer. And we're looking for idea people and people who just want to help with the rec board. So that's our meeting agenda on Thursday.
All right.
But contact the borough or Alex or me or any one of us.
We do appreciate all of our volunteers and our rec board in particular. That being said, I would move, since we didn't open with a motion, but I'll move it anyway.
So moved.
All right, let's do this. All right, thank you, everybody. It's game, set, match. We're gonna head to executive session.